What do I do when my spiritual progress seems to have slowed down?
It's a common thing. A lot of people at the beginning have a period where they really feel that they're growing fast and that there's a transformation afoot and that the past is burning up and that their baggage is getting put down and new insights are coming. And this typically coincides with a time where maybe they embark on a discipline or receive an initiation or take up a guru or choose a path. And then after a certain amount of time, it slows down and they're not getting the insights anymore. And it's all, what was a living presence has actually turned into a concept. The concept of spiritual understandings, which are worthless. Spiritual understandings are worthless. Why is that? Because they're for the mind. To the mind, the spiritual understanding is just another bit of data. What we need is the presence. And in the beginning, what was the difference between in the beginning and now, when that experience of growth, of new insights, of a flood of new insights, the feeling of grace? What is the difference? It's who we're being. It's very dangerous to get to the place where you think you know it. Oh, I've got there now. This is this, that is that, I've got there now. I do this practice, he's my guru, I listen to him, I don't listen to anybody else, I don't think for myself. In fact, I don't think. Thinking's bad, and I don't investigate, and I don't inquire, and I've got it and no one else has. That kind of thinking exists. I've been there. It exists. People get to that place where they think theirs is the only way. And they just do it as a habit. It becomes a habit. And the mind, which it's supposed to dissolve and reconfigure, can deal with a habit. It doesn't cause you any problem. It doesn't grow. Nothing happens. So growth and the sense of wonder starts to diminish. But the mind tells you you're doing okay. You're doing the practice every day. You're doing okay. You're doing this, but you're not thinking. So when you get to that place where you realize, my God, you know what, I've been doing this, the feeling of peace that I'm getting, it's not growing. I'm doing this technique, but I'm not seeing. I'm looking, but I'm not seeing. I'm listening, but I'm not hearing. How do we bring that vitality back? And it's to reconnect with that thirst. It's to reconnect with, what is it that I really, really want? Separate yourself from everybody else's words. Separate yourself from everything in this world. Separate yourself completely from the story of your life, the character that you play. What is it that you want? What is it that your heart calls for? Reconnect with that. And then, say you have a master. You have to contemplate what's being said. Some masters, like my master, is like this. He speaks so amazingly beautifully, so powerfully, that I never remember anything that he says. I'll travel across the world to hear him speak for an hour. I'll listen to him and go into some extreme state of beautiful light-filled absorption. I'll walk out, I won't remember anything. But think of something and start the inquiry. Something that he has perhaps said, or another great master has said, and inquire. Inquire means to contemplate within, from the heart, to investigate, to move out of the space where you think you know, and to come into the place where you know there's more. And you want the more that there is, you want that. Also, for me, I find that by listening, I have my master who I've always had, and he's my guru for this lifetime. But as a bumblebee, I have drunk the nectar from many different flowers. And I have felt no negative result from that. That if my master says one thing and then I go and read a scripture and it says the same thing in a different way, I just feel, how wonderful is that? If I realise something within and my master speaks of it, I think, wow, that is confirmed. But also, if I hear another master say the same thing, I feel it's still confirmed. In a way, there's one supreme guru. And that supreme guru takes many, many forms. And then in each person's life, well, not necessarily each person, but in a person's life, you might find that you get your own master who teaches you a lot, and you see a lot. And in the shade of his wise tree, something very subtle comes into being. But the point is this, that we don't have to accept, it's not like, oh, you know, I can't, there's nothing more to know now. You know, spiritual progress, there's nowhere to go. There's always somewhere to go. There's always more to understand. The peace is always deeper. You know, I know people who've been meditating, some of them think they are accessing the only source of peace, the only technique of peace, and these people can't sit for more than 10 minutes without moving. There's a huge amount of wonderful things out there that are all wonderful, and that if the progress is slow, if you feel you're stuck, if you're not really moving, if your garden's beginning to rot, if you know, it's like there's a sort of complacency that comes in. You have to get out of it. Throw it all out. Whatever concepts you've got, throw them all out. Go naked into pure experience. Really look with that original thirst. That thirst is the most precious commodity. Otherwise you'll fall back into being a character in a dream, and that character will do meditation. That character will have a spiritual path, but it will still be a character in a play pretending spirituality. At some point there has to be an awakening, and that awakening can be real, and that awakening is real. And you don't have to be particularly spiritual for it or intellectual for it. You just have to really want it and call for it and keep calling for it. You know, people say, oh, the Buddha. The Buddha recommends the middle path, the path of moderation. Do a little bit of this and you do a little bit of that, and then tomorrow you do a little bit of this and you do a little bit of that, and the moderate path. But I don't go that way. I don't believe in that way. The Buddha himself didn't go that way, did he? The Buddha himself was one of the most intense yogis anybody ever knew. He was like 7 years in the jungle. He tried everything out. He saw every conceivable master that was around. He read everything that was out there. He sat with such incredible determination through hell and high water. He was absolutely adamant and totally intensely focused on finding what is to be found. So I think also one of the things that can slow progress down is people being too moderate. Sometimes there's a season for being extreme, for spending a whole day asking, who am I? The whole day just sitting there, who am I? Who am I? They're not waiting for the answer to come back with all the concepts that have been there before that got you into the pain, but seeing if an experience comes as the answer. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? It's almost like remembering. And if you think you know who you are, there's no such thing as knowing who you are. It's an experience that's new only in this moment. And it keeps on going, and it keeps on going, and it keeps on going, and then shifts happen. It's what you don't know that you need to know if you want to grow. It's what you don't know that you need to know if you want to grow. You don't even know you don't know it. But there's wonder out there, there's love out there, there's bliss in there. And, you know, the other thing that can stop people is if you're running a pattern that has been going through your life since God knows when of not being good enough, somehow your mind, your ego, your internal chatter has characterized you as not being good enough. Then, if you're not good enough, then you're not going to be good enough to get what the Master is giving, or get what life is offering, or be the one who gets the understanding or has the deep experience, because fundamentally you're not good enough. And that I'm not good enough shows up everywhere. Not good enough to have a great relationship, not good enough to be abundant financially, not good enough to have great holidays, not good enough to realize truth, not good enough to have the therapies I engage in work, not good enough, not good enough, not good enough. There's something intrinsically wrong with me. I don't deserve it. This has to be got rid of. You have to understand the source of that. And the fact is that it's just not true. Who you truly are is fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you. The you that you're going to realize is fine. And that this idea of not being good enough, it has a payoff. As long as you're not good enough, you don't have to be great. As long as you're not good enough, you can punish somebody whosever fault it was that you're not good enough. Or teach somebody. See, if you treat people like that, this is what happens. They get wounded and they're not good enough, and so can't have everything that life is offering. Get rid of that. If that's anywhere within you, get rid of it. And know that there's greatness within you. And that greatness is most likely to first show up when you start pursuing who you truly are. So there are a number of different things that slow us down, but it's one really, unconsciousness. So, you know, this is only my view. I think be intense. If you want to speed up, do something intense. Do a 10-day meditation. Meditate 2-3 hours a day for a month. Just do something intense that shows you what you really want, that brings some clarity in. Now, this advice I give, you know, is maybe it's not qualified. Who am I to say? But I'm just somebody. I'm just somebody. And I suggest that if anything else isn't working, there's so much we can experience, and time is short. You don't know when you're going to go, and one thing for certain, when you do go, that wind comes and you start going up, that is when you'll realize what you really realized or not. Did you see the difference between a dream and reality? Did you wake up or not? Did you wake up or not? Or did you spend your whole life listening to your internal dialogue which supports the act that you take to be you? Something very wonderful is being offered now. Let's all receive it.